Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Weekly Emmy Talk, where today we are going to be breaking down the comedy categories at the upcoming 2022 Emmys, and I'm joined by Anthony and Yutaka to do so. Any quick thoughts before we dive into this whole thing?
Let's just dive right in.
Dive right in? Okay. Starting off with comedy series, where I guess I can start off. We've got our nominees now. I'm between two different shows for a win. I think Ted Lasso is still very strong, as much as I prefer other shows' current seasons. It did very well nomination morning. But my number two, I don't know, I haven't picked my winner yet. But my other one is Abbott Elementary, which I think I just recently watched and I thought was really, really good. I really enjoyed the show. And I think it's gaining a lot of buzz lately, is what I would say. I've been hearing a lot more talk about it, and it's really the only network show. So if people want to support the network shows, this is one you would support. I think it could maybe win and surprise here, but I think there's also a world where it wins for a future season. And I think Cax is also still very possible. Um, Probably in third now, though, sadly. So, and then after that, Barry, Only Murders in the Building, What We Do in the Shadows, Miss Maisel, and Curb Your Enthusiasm. None of which really have a chance. Starting off with you, Yutaka. How about you? What do you think is currently winning?
Uh, I think Ted Lasso, but I don't want it to. I
Go with your
really
heart.
hope for Abbott Elementary, because I kept telling you all to watch it, so
Yeah,
I'm really happy
you were
you all
ahead of the
did.
train.
I really hope for that one. And I agree that Hacks is losing steam. So aside from those three, which I'm really shocked that Barry's losing steam, but that's
Yeah,
but after that, I would say Only Murders. Mm, I guess Marvelous Miss Maisel. I don't remember the last season. And I would say What We Do in the Shadows, and then Curb Your Enthusiasm. I
yeah.
was never a Seinfeld fan, so Curb Your Enthusiasm's not something I enjoy.
Mm.
Yeah, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel kind of feels like the Meryl Streepification of awards, that they just put it down, not checking whether it had a new season or not. They just assumed that there was a new season. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just hear nobody talking about that show. And I don't
I
know
mean, it had one.
one.
I just don't remember that season.
Yeah. But I feel like we can't confirm or deny like who was in it. Was there any special
What
guest
happened?
stars? When did it come out? Did it end yet? Like, it's that type of show that just like it's the Emmy kind of mindset that we're going to put it on. And no disrespect, it's just that I'm surprised that sometimes these shows just like Better Call Saul was one that type of show in the drama categories that you would see it every year, or Handmaid's Tale, that like it had its moment in the sun, and I think just they feel bad dropping it because like it's not going to win anything. So I kind of feel that I don't know how long we string along these shows when we turn to these new ones. It's I don't know. I always feel bad because they come and then they leave empty-handed.
Yeah, I think it depends on the competition because I don't think there was a ton of other shows that really missed out per se that would have taken their spot. Maybe Reservation Dogs, but I don't think there were a ton of other
Yeah.
big contenders that I can think of. How about for a winner, Anthony? Who do you have winning comedy series?
I saw Ted Lasso. I think the amount of acting nominations. I was looking at Toheeb Jimoh
Hmm.
and Sarah Niles. I think really showing the support for not only Ted Lasso, but this season of Ted Lasso. We're not just pulling along our favorites from season one. We are specifically recognizing actors for season two specific work. Toheeb Jimoh with an expanded role in this season, and Sarah Niles, who of course was a newcomer this season, shows that there's a lot of respect for how this show has evolved in its second season. And I do think, despite the personal opinion in this room, in this Zoom room, I do think a lot of people love it. It has a higher Rotten Tomato score than its predecessor, I believe. I'll fact check
I
that.
think so. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I attribute the some of the people's less than enthused response to be more just the change in how you watch the show, because I think this has happened to Succession as well, that some people didn't like season three of Succession as much and season two of Ted Lasso because they binged the previous seasons and then they had to wait week to week. I think that could have affected it. But still, I think that the show is better than ever. I think the fact that you've seen these actors now go off into other places, be it Hannah Waddingham in Hocus Pocus 2 or Brett Goldstein in a recent end credit scene, that I think that you're seeing the effect that this is having on the industry. And in my opinion, I do think that it managed to have more substance in the second season while being as funny as ever. So I still have it as my number one, though I think the show that I would look out for, maybe not this year, but I think Only Murders in the Building is having such a fantastic season 2 that depending on when voting is, if it could be similar to what happened with Ted Lasso season 1 last year, which is that there could be so caught up in how good the show is that Only Murders could benefit maybe in Best Actor. I don't know. This show is really cementing itself very strongly. So I would probably say that's the runner-up for me, honestly, because I think Barry and Hacks, they missed out on some nominations that we maybe wanted to see. I know Jack was talking about Paul W. Downs and supporting, and I apologize.
Meg Stelter.
Yes, it was very funny, hilarious on that show. Like, they missed there. The
Only Murders did miss Selena though, which is kind of a big.
They miss Selena, but I don't see. I attribute that to more that she has to earn her dues. Like there's a weird stigma because it's Selena Gomez. Like that's different than some of these like people who are like only associated with the show. I don't know. I think Selena's in a
I
different
could see that.
place where I feel like they almost feel like she has to earn it more because she's Selena Gomez, and she's also may have the Disney Channel vibe over her. I think that'll change with this second season, of course. But like also remind me of the name of the lead actress in Barry who missed in supporting.
Sarah Goldberg.
Yeah, so like those type of nominations, I think, because those are also they're supporting, which has more room. Where Selena Gomez was fighting alongside like Jean Smart and more bigger names. And I also think based on the roles, like Sarah Goldberg obviously she had like her own arc, where Selena Gomez, her role is a lot more subdued, and I feel like awards bodies have a problem with honoring subdued, nuanced performances over like the big, shouty acting type of things. So I think she fell prey to that. So I don't know. I feel like out of the other nominees, I feel like Only Murders is carving its own significant spot. It's such a warm show, and I also think the second season is so good that I think people have that on the mind when voting, especially given some of the rumors about how the season ends. It's going to blow your mind and stuff. So I still think Ted Lasso is a firm win, but I would say as the runner-up, look out for Only Murders.
Yeah. The reason I have Abbott as my runner-up is because when you look at the shows that overperformed come nomination morning, I think Ted Lasso overperformed, and I think you could also say Abbott Elementary definitely overperformed. Definitely. Not only getting Janelle James, but also what's her name, Cheryl Lee Randolph in supporting actress.
Yeah,
and I think Tyler James Williams in supporting actress.
And I don't think anybody expected him to get an nom
at all. No. Yeah. So I think those two would be my front runners right now. I think it's just about how this season continues. I think it's up to those two. Maybe Hacks if it has a random surge, but I think Only Murders in the Building will probably be rewarded another year when there's maybe less competition. But
yeah, I'm just saying as far as like judging, I just as a runner-up, I feel very confident in Ted Lasso, but I would say like the Hacks and Barry, I think that Hacks and Barry have changed into Abbott and Murders for me at least. And I think the fact that Abbott is getting a rare 22 episode season 2 shows the support that this show has. So yeah, I think having Abbott in the conversation is key. But I do think that if Abbott is a stronger competitor than we're realizing, it's because people are discovering it now, like Jack and I did.
You guys don't watch network TV as much as I do, I'll be honest. So because it was a ratings boon for ABC, so they're gonna put all their money into that. Kind of like when, Modern Family was also good, but same thing. When that like took off, they're like toss everything at that.
Yeah. I just think that as far as like, because I feel like, I don't know, this seems like the type of show that benefits from people discovering it in the Emmy block. Like I feel like a lot of people might not have turned to network television until it has this Emmy prestige, and now people are like, okay, let me check this out, and now it will benefit from that. I could see it happening, but I also think that this could be a season. like a later season thing. Because I think the good thing about sitcoms is that because you want to return to them so often, as the show has a stronger emotional wealth because of the histories you have with the characters, that only benefits your show. Um, so that's what I think Abbott has going forward, especially given that 4 of the 6 main characters got nominated. Though I would have loved to see Lisa Ann Walter get nominated because I thought she might be my favorite character. She's so funny. Maybe because I know that person so well. Like I've had conversations with that person. Living 20 minutes from Philly, I've met that person so often that I just think she's brilliant, and she captures that specific Philly. My 6th grade teacher is that that woman. So yeah, it's a great show, and I'm glad Utaka and the Emmys talked us into it.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think we're right now all sticking with Ted Lasso, but we could see an upset from a few of the others. So yes, speaking of a few of the others, onto comedy actress, where I think it's still Jean Smarts to take, personally. I mean, the only other competition I see is Quinta Brunson, but I personally think she will be awarded elsewhere come Emmy night. So I'm sticking with, this is where Hacks will win, with Jean Smart, which is like the face of the show. So
this seems like a Michaela Cole type win where they're going to honor the creative actor in the writing.
yeah.
And yeah, I just feel that as far as actress goes, like we talked about it, like we don't think Hacks really has a strong chance in many other places. So this is the place to honor Hacks, which is a show they love because it beat out Ted Lasso for directing and writing last year. So I think this is where Hacks gets its love.
Yeah. I think that's all that really needs to be said. Any other thoughts?
I hope Quinta steals it though. I'm
That would be a
hoping
nice
for a
surprise.
huge upset for that show. There's just it was just such a I just gush over that show because it was just so fresh and it was just so positive. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, as we see Hacks losing a little steam and Abbott seems to be gaining some, I think, we've still got months to go. Who knows? It's definitely possible. I think those are your two.
Because I think conventional wisdom would be Hacks benefits from being about the industry. But I think that's what Abbott Elementary has going for it, is that it's the breath of fresh air. You feel that you're not being played to because you're seeing, I think I described it in my Twitter review. If not, I'll say it here, that Abbott Elementary was one of the most necessary pieces of television of the past season. That, and I would say Heartstopper, are so necessary in terms of what they're depicting. And I'm still a little bit upset that Heartstopper was, I think, pushed to like this new kids youth Emmys.
Yeah.
Because I think it's better than a lot of these shows.
Yes.
It is.
I agree.
Would it be a comedy? Probably.
I don't know where they would put it. It falls into the weird place of like when Black Panther was like going up for Golden Globes. It's like, where are you putting this movie? Because like I don't know. Like I don't know how Barry is a comedy. I mean, if Barry's a comedy, I think Heartstopper is a comedy.
That's true.
And I think it's more. I think they should honestly, like at this point, they don't need to rebrand it. But I think it's now essentially: are you a 30-minute show or are you an hour show? But even then, Ted Lasso had like 40-minute episodes, so it's craziness. But still, I think that Abbott Elementary, as we were saying, like it's so necessary of what it's depicting, and I think that breath of fresh air in setting is what's also, I think, appealing people to the show.
Yeah, I agree. But right now we're all sticking with Jean Smart. We'll see how it goes. Comedy actor. This is a tricky one for me. I'm still between Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis here, with maybe Steve Martin, but I don't think so. I think him and Martin Short are going to split.
Can I ask? You have to pick one murders person that you see more logically winning that award. You think it's Steve Martin?
I like Martin Short more on the show, to be honest. I like his character and performance more, but I think there's probably more love towards Steve Martin as an actor and person in the industry in general.
Utaka, do you agree?
I'm trying to think if they've both won an Emmy or who's won more. I feel like Martin Short's more of the decorated. I could be wrong. I would probably say Martin Short though. I think they're both great, but I don't know.
So Steve Martin has 13 nominations and won 1, and Martin Short has 14 nominations and 2 Emmys.
Oh, so
Oh
very, very
wow, so
close.
very close. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I would see Martin short if I had to choose between the two, but I think it's going to be Bill Hader.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also lean that way, honestly, because when you look at Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis, on Emmy
Both undefeated.
nominations, yes, both undefeated, but also on Emmy nomination morning. We talked about this with Julia Garner, where she got nominated for Inventing Anna, which I think boosts her chances for Ozark. Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis both had chances to be nominated outside of this category. Jason Sudeikis, who was very expected to be nominated for SNL, missed, but Bill Hader did
Yeah.
get in for Curb Your Enthusiasm for guest actor.
That
So
one
I
was
think
hot.
maybe there's a little more love towards Bill Hader right now. And Jason Sudeikis just won. Bill Hader has yet to lose. I mean, so has Jason Sudeikis, but Bill Hader's won twice, and Jason Sudeikis has won once. So I'm leaning
I
Bill Hader.
I would partially agree with that. I do think though that would be a more damning case against Sudeikis if there weren't like there was only one SNL guest host and it was Jared
Yeah.
Carmichael who had a very important and seminal episode for what again the inclusion of what he represented in his monologue. It was very moving. Like if they had nominated like the customary like like your Adam Drivers the rant like just the actor promoting their project hosts, then I would say maybe that's a case because I think that what like an SNL host is doing, especially an SNL host who was an SNL cast member, I'm not quite sure they give that person as much credit. Like it's fun when this new person comes in and you get surprised that they can do sketch comedy, but they know he can do that because he was on the show. So I don't know
Yeah.
if, and also Bill Hader. If it was Bill Hader getting nominated for SNL hosting and Jason Sudeikis missing, then I agree. But because Bill Sudeikis, Bill Hader was on like a actual like comedy show, not a sketch show. I think probably it just seemed that this year they weren't going to just do 5 hosts for SNL and 1 person from Ted Lasso. So um maybe that shows that they love Hader, but I'm still going Sudeikis because I just think that there's a warmth that that character represents that people like voting for in the same way that in the Oscars you have people voting for Judy Garland, the way you have people voting for Freddie Mercury. I think people love the character, and the character could turn some people off in the way that like Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story was, that even though it's a beautiful heartbreaking performance with a lot of poise, they don't like the character or they don't like the character as much, and that ices them from a win because I do think they're both titans undefeated in these roles. That I'm just looking for something, and I just feel like the character of Ted Lasso is more beloved than Barry.
Yeah, yeah. And the show right now, as you can see from nominations, is also more beloved. I'm just grasping at straws for what I think. I also like Bill Hader more, at least performance-wise, and his show more. So I mean, I sometimes factor in a little bit of personal bias. I did it last year at the Emmys, and it actually turned out pretty well. It's one of the few who predicted Hacks winning both directing and writing, which is rare. Um, but yeah, that's really why I'm going with that. But you said you're going with Bill Hader, Utaka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't wavered from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
Bill Hader. I don't know if we're talking about directing and writing.
we will. Yes.
So, I'll save my
In a
comment.
second. Yes, I think he's definitely going to be winning something. Now into comedy supporting actress. I'm probably going to stick with Hannah Waddingham as my winner, but my number 2 is now Janelle James for Abbott Elementary, just because I think she is the comedic standout of the show. She has the most funny moments, I think the most clip out moments. They did recently release for most of the categories what episodes each actor is submitting, so I need to look over those again.
I believe Janelle James is submitting Ava vs. Superintendent, which is I believe the penultimate of the season, which shows not only very comedic, but when she has to present herself, it's a very take charge, dramatic turn. It's the most dramatic I think she gets the season.
Yeah.
So it really shows her range. She's incredible. I think that
she is.
I was very happy to see her there, as I was Sheryl Lee Ralph.
Yes, I love her. Yeah, she's also incredible.
I'm sure Utaka can talk to as well, because he's known about them for a while now. There's just, I feel like, especially with something like Sheryl Lee Ralph, that type of role doesn't usually get written, and it doesn't usually get written for a woman of color. So I'm very happy she got nominated. And then Janelle James, like, I don't know. I feel like we don't see people of color in these type of roles. Like they don't get imagined this way. They don't get written with this sort of comedic finesse. And so I'm glad that they're in the conversation. And I'm glad that it happened on the first season. This isn't like a last season, thank you for all your work. Like we're honoring them from the get-go. So she could win because Waddingham has won before, but I also think the episode that Waddingham is probably we have to look this one up. I am not. They'd be stupid not to submit the funeral.
Her and Sudeikis both submitted it, yeah.
And so I don't know that. I
don't know if that's Sudeikis' strong episode though. I don't know if that's what I would choose to submit for him, but I think it's a decent choice.
It's definitely the one for Waddingham, and I think it's heartbreaking. It's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best pieces of acting of the year. Movies, TV, comedy, drama. That monologue is beautiful, and so Waddingham all the way for me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna stick with Waddingham for now. Janelle James is my number 2, and sadly Hannah Einbinder, who I used to have as my number 1, is now my number 3. I think there's just not enough buzz.
It's a tough crowd, though, to be honest.
Yeah. It's very tough. Yeah. What do you have, Yutaka? Do you have Waddingham? Or?
I mean, if it will probably be Waddingham. Not that that's bad, but I'm gonna go hard for Abbott Elementary. So I would agree that Janelle James has moved up to number 2, though, and that sadly, Hannah's gone down to 3.
Yeah.
Who I learned Hannah Einbinder went to my school.
Oh wow!
That I saw on our Instagram page, they were propping up Einbinder. I was like, oh yay! Sorry, I don't believe in you that you're gonna win, but congrats.
Oh.
Win eventually, hopefully. Eventually, her time in the sun will come, but not this year, sadly. Yes. So now onto comedy supporting actor, where I'm a little more confident in this one. I feel like it's Brett Goldstein. I feel like he's the strongest of the Ted Lasso actors. The only other person I see is maybe Henry Winkler for Barry.
Don't you dare just settle for fine. That line alone.
Yeah.
Wasn't this also the season when he was running to was it the Rolling Stones song? And he was running and he was like hurting his leg to go tell Keely something about.
Oh yeah.
Come on. Like he was one of the characters I think they really understood. Like I feel like Roy Kent became a phenom in a way that surprised the writers, and they harnessed that for the second season. Where I feel like a lot of the other characters just stayed at the same level, stayed at the same good level. They improved, and I think you're going to see him benefit with another win.
Yeah. How about you, Yutaka? Brett Goldstein?
No, I agree with that. I mean, I know Henry has won before. Wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Kerrigan though.
I wish. Yeah.
I mean, Tony Shalhoub's won as well. And I think I know Bowen Yang's been nominated, but I think for the rest, Tyler, Toheeb, and Nick, I think, is this all their first noms?
I know that none of them have won, definitely.
Yeah. So
probably all their first.
But yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be Brett's. But
let's see how
I want to see a whole bunch of upsets. I think that would be fun.
Yes.
Translation: Yutaka wants to see a lot of the Ted Lasso people lose because that's who he wants to be.
They've already won. It's time for some fresh faces. Come on now. Some new. Although Henry Winkler has also won, but it's been longer since he's won. So
he only won 2 years ago.
That was his first Emmy though ever, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. No, listen, I do agree. I think that there's so much wonderful talent, especially in television, and the volume of talent, because of how much they have to do and be consistent, is so great that I always want to see more people win. And I do like it when they're democratic and they give one show this and this show that. So I agree with you. I love Ted Lasso, but I do think that some of these other shows deserve it too. And to be honest, I would probably go Waddingham is probably my number 1, and maybe this category goes somewhere else. It's we always want to see as many people get in the sandbox, because then that's what allows them to get in the sandbox for later work again. Get the door, get that award, so that you can come back and your next project then can get made. Because I think that's why we care about this too. It's not just for fun. These awards change how the next project gets made. So making sure that next project can get made is why we talk about this.
Yeah, definitely has some impact on the industry and some careers, all that stuff. And don't worry, other shows. We only have, if Ted Lasso does end up like sweeping, we've only got one more season to endure. So stay strong. Stay strong. You'll have your chance eventually. I like the show, to be frank, but I just want to see some new faces, like I said. Now into comedy directing, where I think we'll all agree that this is where Bill Hader is definitely going to win an Emmy with the episode 710N, 710N. I don't know if everyone's seen the episode, but it's, I think, easily the best directed of these shows and their episodes, and I think maybe the best directed episode of Barry yet. Bill Hader is just leveling up directing wise. He's going to be directing the entire next season. So yeah, I think it's the strongest.
It's very interesting how this is now. TV is almost becoming an auteurist playground, because like I just looked up that Andor is going to have one director for all 12 episodes, and like it's really interesting.
I don't think Andor does.
Yeah, I looked it up on IMDb.
Oh.
It has,
I thought they had separate directors for each arc.
Let me see. I will do a clarification.
Speaking of which, I think Andor is going to be a big contender. That show looks really good, in my opinion.
I saw a Fiona Shaw who, I think Killing Eve, right? She was on Killing Eve.
Yeah, it's all British directors that they hired.
But she was saying how like it's inspired by like it's a response to like Trumpian politics, and so I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, listen, Star Wars has always been political, and so is Star Trek. You know, William Shatner that.
Take down fascism.
But yeah, so I agree with you. I think Andor could be big.
Yeah, they filmed it all.
I haven't seen the trailer yet, so I guess I should probably watch that.
I don't watch trailers. This is all off.
Oh, you haven't seen the trailer?
I try not to watch trailers. Black Panther is different. I needed a blanket of Black Panther at that time.
Trailers.
Yeah, I haven't watched the trailer yet, so I need to, because this is the Rogue One spinoff, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not a huge Star Wars person, but I loved Rogue One. So
it's about the start of the rebellion, all that fun stuff. You got. Oh, wait, I won't spoil anything because you haven't seen the trailer. But there's some fun stuff going on. But yeah, I think we all agree. Barry 710 and for comedy directing, and I don't really know anyone else who would really contend. Maybe Hacks, since they won last year, but I really think it's going to be Barry, to be honest. Okay, yeah. Now comedy writing is where it gets a little trickier. I'm still sticking with Abbott Elementary for the pilot, but Hacks is a close number 2, to be honest, because it did win here last year. The whole show is about writing. The whole show is about comedy writing. It's about the industry. So I do think that's the number 2.
Award each other.
They do. And Barry and What We Do in the Shadows both have 2 episodes, so I think that cancels them out. So yeah, I'd say Abbott with a good chance Hacks could also steal it.
So clarification, I agree with you first. So apparently IMDb had one director listed for all 12, even though he's only directing 6. So that's the fix. But you're right. There's a different directors for different things. So here you go. Fact check. I will not. Yeah, I'm also going to fact check Ted Lasso on Rotten Tomatoes. But I agree. I think Quinta Brunson is going. This is where we'll honor her, because I think for a sitcom, definitely the writing is what you honor. Like this type of show and this type of comedy is very different than Barry or even Ted Lasso. You know. Like, no, and this is no mark on Abbott Elementary, but Abbott Elementary is not the type of show that worries about like shot construction or like the intricacies of a detailed production design. Like it's your classic sitcom, and the reason why it's so revolutionary and so great is just it's telling the story of an underprivileged voice that doesn't get a media spotlight. And I think just the conceit of that, and that's all captured in this first episode, is what will be honored, deservedly so. It's a very everything's set up in that pilot, all the interdynamics, the will they won't they relationship, which is actually one of the better will they won't days of television in recent years. So clarified, 92% for season 1 of Ted Lasso, 98% for season 2.
Pretty high score. Yeah, I think that's what we're sticking with for comedy directing and writing. And now on to the guest categories, starting off with comedy guest actress. What do you have winning, Yutaka?
Jane Lynch.
Yeah, she's really good in the show. She's really good. Very funny. I think the Hacks people could split votes considering there's four of them here.
Yeah, I would say though the only defense would be Laurie Metcalf, just
Yeah.
because of a seasoned veteran, never really always hits the mark in my opinion. So that could be the one from Hacks.
Yeah,
I agree.
she was hilarious. Yeah, I would say her, maybe Harriet Sampson Harris because I really liked her episode, but I think the nomination was the win for her because she wasn't even expected to be nominated. So I'm gonna stick with Jane Lynch because that's also a place where they can award Only Murders in the Building. And Laurie Metcalf could maybe win for Hacks. How about you, Anthony?
Emphasize. Moving on.
Emphasize.
Everything you
Okay. Comedy guest actor. I'm a little less this one's tricky because I'm not super passionate about any of these, to be honest. Besides one of them, but I don't think one of them really has a chance of winning. Nathan Lane for Only Murders in the Building is probably who's going to win guest actor. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Gerard Carmichael for Saturday Night Live, just because there seems to be a lot of love surrounding him and what he did that episode.
Well, it's a good episode too, and it was, I really enjoyed that. I don't know about. Again, I'm just not a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm, so I was impressed to see Bill Hader. But it would be kind of cool to see Sam Richardson.
That would be nice, yeah.
Who I adore from Veep. So that's why I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. It's also worth mentioning Bill Hader in the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode apparently plays multiple characters. So I don't know if that's something that they would like. But I think he's already got enough going on. I don't know if they're going to vote for him here.
I do think it's interesting looking back at like previous winners of this category is that they don't always go for the name if they're not in SNL. Like they'll go for
true.
A really like strong center of the show. Like if you love the show, you attribute this character as being like a small part to its success. So if that's the case, I would look out for James Lance. I think there's a lot of love for Trent Crimm. I think the fact that people know who he is, like that character isn't.
Oh, like he plays that character. Okay.
Trent Crimm, the Independent. Like I feel like people just know that, and the fact that the character has recognition helps in this category because it means that it's gone beyond like a guest. Like the character feels part of the universe of the show in a way that usually you don't find with guests. Like even Jane Lynch as Zaz is the name of the stunt person. Like that character doesn't feel ingratiated into the main ethos of Ted Lasso in the same way that Trent Crimm, the Independent, is. So I'd look out for
Nathan Lane kind of is. He was in the first season.
Well, I don't know what constitutes like a small role and a guest star because Nathan Lane.
I know it's a weird rule. Apparently, you have to be in like
less than
3.
4. Oh,
less
okay.
Than 3 or 4. Yeah, I think basically less than like half of the show, pretty much.
He's only the center of like the B storyline.
Entire, yeah.
It's like, like I get it. A little bit of Nathan Lane goes a long way, but like, and maybe that's why he wins because he leaves like the fact that we think he's in more than it does, and he still qualifies for this. But I don't know. Nathan Lane in guest reminds me too much of like Lakeith Stanfield in supporting. I'm like, that seems like category fraud.
It's kind of like, but I mean, I remember they either they removed his nom. What was it? Peter McNichol for Veep. He was in guest actor, and because he was in too many episodes, either they removed him or he had. Well, I would assume they removed him. And so it ended up going to Peter Scolari from Girls. Oh. And it was expected to be Peter McNichol to win. Thought that was interesting. But that's why I couldn't remember how many episodes, but I remember that.
So it was determined that McNichol had appeared in 5 out of the 10 episodes of the 5th season of Veep, which violated the TV Academy's rule. I don't know if this was just then or now, less than 50% of his.
Okay.
7th place finisher Peter Scolari received the nomination in his place, going to win the category.
Yeah.
Which I feel like the same thing happened, if my memory is serving me correct, with Tracy Ellis Ross for the Golden Globe, she was not originally nominated with the 5, and for some reason, then they put her in later, and then she won the category that year for Blackish. I don't know. It was such a weird thing because they only do 5, and there was 6, and I think she was the one they added on, and then she won. So it's interesting, those type of stories. But I think what helps is that when you're that type of person and you're in the headlines because you replaced or you were added on, then everybody, the category becomes all about you. And then you're like, yeah, okay, why not? Name recognition. Peter Scolari. If you haven't seen Veep, watch Veep. It's I
guess I need
best
to see
curse words in television history.
You haven't seen Veep?
No.
Oh my god!
All right, I don't know if this gets me into hot water. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Veep is the greatest performance in the history of television. That the moment at season 5 when something happens, I won't say what, but it's a loss and it's a big loss. And she has a bunch of like little girls come into like the West Wing, and she has to do like a little presentation after she just lost this big thing. It is so heartbreaking. It's a beautiful performance. Watch.
I was still mad that she didn't win that final year. I know it was so, but she'd already been given so many, so I can't be mad because she deserved it in my opinion. I agree. Veep was never a show, which I'm kind of hoping like I get these vibes from Abbott Elementary, because this is how much I enjoyed the first season of Veep, that it consistently like continued to outdo itself, and it also knew when to go out on top. Oh, yeah. I don't feel Veep ever outstayed its welcome. I still miss it, but yeah.
No, I agree with Miss Dreyfus in that the best episode of the show is the finale. I think it was one of those that, like Friends for me, went out on a high, the highest of highs.
Because man, that one hit me in the heart. That episode.
Yeah, it was the same month as Game of Thrones. I was like, HBO, what are you doing to me? Yeah, Veep is a fantastic show. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, watch it on HBO and HBO Max while HBO Max still exists.
Yeah. You can't watch a certain movie on that stream service for some reason that we won't get into, but it's tragic.
Oh, I think somebody in the group chat posted about that. There was more business to that I didn't know of.
Oh,
I mean, it's still bad. Yeah. Which makes sense because, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to cancel the other one, which they should. For other
anyone who doesn't know, it's Batgirl in the Flash.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much of a tax break are they getting then? That's crazy.
No, this is a movie about power. This isn't a movie about
there's money. That, but I'm sure they're still going to be able to take the loss to recover some type of money since it went over budget. I mean, I don't know how streaming and film like revenue is
that's the other thing
generated. I've always been curious.
We need
besides subscriptions.
We need to keep touting the horn that streaming does not pay residuals, so you can make more money having a bit part on a sitcom on like Quinta Brunson is probably going to make so much more money because this is on ABC than any of the people in streaming. And I think we just need to keep supporting that talent. And I said it on my tweet when I responded to the Batgirl thing. Nothing is too small if it has passionate filmmakers behind it. So hopefully, I
didn't realize streaming didn't get residuals at all. Oh no, of course.
That's why they pay you so much up front with Netflix.
That's
they
right.
Get 20 million and stuff.
That's why like a oh my god,
did Will Smith just get like 35 million for a film?
Yeah, like the actor.
I think so. Yeah.
The actor who plays like Quinta Brunson's boyfriend in this first season will probably get paid more for that show in the long run than like Winona Ryder will get paid for Stranger Things, because of how this whole system works. And that's how this system. Scarlett Johansson tried. She tried to change this thing with Black Widow. Hopefully somebody else can push us through and get.
She still made a pretty good, chunk of change from it. More than I think she would have. Well, again, we were still.
But I think she petered with opening the door of getting residuals for streaming, and Disney did not want to have that conversation. They just paid her to shut up. But hopefully somebody else can like inch the door forward, because in the streaming world, talent is being taken advantage of, at least in my opinion. But I think this should be everybody's opinion, except the people like David Zaslav.
I think it depends on the streaming show though. Like I give Netflix credit. They did. I mean, those people, like those kids too. I mean, some of them are making more than some
They made
folks
money. Yeah.
on network. Now, yes, residuals and all that, I agree, but you could still have a hit show that just doesn't make it into syndication, and then where do you go from there?
No, I
But-
agree. I don't think every show is Stranger Things too, which is the other thing we always have to be mindful of. Like, there's so many shows that we don't even hear about that people, of course, live off of, and so, streaming is an interesting world. And given news like Batgirl this week and stuff, it always pulls you back into reality. That as much as we enjoy thinking, oh, is Einbender gonna kneecap Waddingham at the last minute? These are people's lives and their livelihoods, so we always have to be a little bit conscientious and aware of what these awards.
No,
and
I
things
agree.
like
Everything's not Stranger Things, but I'm just saying, like,
does.
even let me put it this
Evolving
way: a good, like, well, not a good, but a horrible scandal will also derail syndication on shows, and also why I don't like Seinfeld, because of what Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, it was technically him and Larry David's show, but they screwed their cast out of syndication deals. I remember when that happened. That was a big. I mean, it was impressive that the cast remained on to finish. I think it was 2 seasons, but they were. I don't know if they still speak, but
That's why when you hear the lovely stories about the Big Bang Theory cast, and that when Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch were, obvious because they didn't start with the show, they came on later, and then the original 5 split their salaries so that everybody could have the equal amount. Like, you hear stories like that, you're just like, oh.
That's why I loved Friends. They banded
Right.
together. They're like, we're all,
Yeah. Modern Family the same way. They never put themselves up for lead. They were always put themselves up for supporting because they really respected each other. That's what, again, I think television, because of the way it works and the medium and how, again, the consistency of how and the longevity of these projects, you get a sense of community. But I also think it's important that we look beyond what's getting nominated, because those are the shows that we need to look out for. It's these things like Batgirl that get shelved that we never see, that don't get that fan base, that we need to look out for too. So it's a crazy time for television.
Yeah. So that's some business talk for you as well. Anyone who's writing any of these shows, feel free to write a role for Leslie Grace, who deserves something after this. This poor
I think
woman
Kevin
is
Feige is paying attention. If I was Kevin Feige,
that would be a very smart move.
Yeah, she could be a mutant. I'm sure she could be a great mutant.
Agreed.
so Brendan Fraser too.
Oh, well, he's going to have The Whale. He's got Killers of the Flower Moon. I think he'll be okay.
Michael Keaton got dope sick. Everybody's taking care.
I'm pretty sure he's got an Oscar in his future, which is good because he should have.
Not next year, but in his future. Next year's
Crazier things have happened. Hey, Darren Aronofsky got Natalie Portman an Oscar. He could get Brendan Fraser.
This is very true.
Not saying that Natalie Portman is like a horrible actor, and he somehow willed her. I want to be clear. I think I might say Black Swan.
Oh no, I love Black Swan.
Just making sure.
I think that came out of like I can't remember what came out that year, but I remember rooting for Natalie Portman, and I was so happy. Like, no, Black Swan is.
No,
I mean,
the way I phrase that, you
horror.
can make the case that, like, if
psychological.
Darren Aronofsky get an Oscar for Natalie Portman, then anything's possible. That's not the insinuation.
Oh, I gotcha.
I think performance might be my favorite performance I've ever seen. So, all respect to Miss Portman. I love Miss Portman.
She is very good.
Except in Thor.
She was okay.
Well, except she was okay. She was good. She was worse than
wasn't her
Star
fault
Wars,
that the lines were bad.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
And comedy is not her special.
That's why whenever anybody got mad at Hayden,
except when she was on Saturday Night Live, she was good on.
She did good with that. Yes. Yeah. Comedy not written by Taika Waititi or George Lucas.
Well, comedy by George Lucas. I mean,
unintentional comedy by George Lucas.
All due respect, George. It's what happens when you're a rich billionaire genius.
Playboy, philanthropist. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to stop all the side talk now. So we've covered all the categories anyway. So I hope you enjoyed the little rants at the end. Comment your predictions for the comedy categories down below. Like the video, subscribe, stay tuned for more Emmy coverage, as well as we just talked about a little bit, 2023 Oscar coverage, festival season about to begin. It's about to get heated. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. And Anthony, where can they find you on the internet?
On YouTube here, spoilers ahead with Anthony Post. A lot of fun videos coming up on the channel. And then on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram at Anthony_Post. You can find my Letterboxd and all the wonderful lists that I'm sure you'll disagree with. I think I have like 75 at this point.
Those lists. How about you, Yutaka? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So, the Horror Hour TV with me, George, and David, and just everybody. I swear, we have a new person every week. So it's good time. We have a podcast that we're very this last episode, which when this comes out, will have probably the worst takes that any of us have had. So that I can't wait for that. And those comments. But and we just got to interview Kevin Bacon, so that was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. As long as there's no hereditary slander, everything will be okay.
Not for me.
Yeah. From a certain individual. I'm sure there will be. Okay. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week.